Good morning. Today we are going to discuss about lesson number 12, endocrine system. You have an idea about this lesson because a basic of endocrine system we have discussed, studied in grade 8. Now today we will go further. Now before proceeding ahead, let's see what is in the scope of syllabus. Student, this year for grade 10, we will discuss about the difference between endocrine system and exocrine system, that is endocrine gland, exocrine gland. What is the difference between hormone and enzyme? The two types of control, that is hormonal control and nervous control. Brief idea about the endocrine glands present in the body, but we will focus more on the four glands: adrenal gland, thyroid gland, pancreas and pituitary gland. We will also discuss the hormones secreted by these glands, the functions of the hormone, along with the effect on our body if all these hormones secreted in less quantity or in excess quantity. And last but not the least, there is a new concept in our syllabus called as feedback mechanism. Feedback mechanism is nothing but how this secretion of hormone from each and every endocrine gland is controlled. Fine. Now before proceed ahead, I will request all of you to please open your textbook. If you don't have textbook, take it out your notebook, and whichever point you think it is important, note it down. We are beginning with the lesson. Now before starting, let's look at certain definitions. Number one is exocrine gland. The gland with the duct are called as exocrine gland. Example: salivary gland, sweat gland, tear gland. Apart from that, the glands which are present in our stomach as well as in our intestine. Correct? Even pancreas is also an example of exocrine gland, and all these glands secrete enzymes, so their secretion is called as enzymes. I know that salivary, sweat gland, tear gland do not secrete enzyme, but other glands, they do secrete enzyme. Endocrine glands, these are the ductless glands, and they pour their secretion directly into blood. The secretion of endocrine gland, student, is known as hormone. And what are hormones? They are the secretions from the specific cells or the glands, and their effect is produced in one or parts, also called as target organs, and they release directly into the blood. So when you write the definition of hormone, three important points. Number one, secretion from specific cell or glands. Number two, acts on target organ. And number three, directly release into blood. Okay, we'll go ahead. We are having two different types of control in our body: hormonal control and nervous control. Hormonal control is usually very slow. Since hormones are transported by the blood, therefore it is also controlled or transmitted chemically through blood. It will affect any organ to whom it is acting, and it will regulate your metabolism. But nervous control, if you see, it is immediate and rapid. It is transmitted by electrochemical signals. We call them as impulse through nerve fibers. It affects only particular muscles or the gland, and it cannot regulate the metabolism. Now let's compare one point each. Hormonal control is slow, nervous control is immediate. What does this mean? Reflex action, you can take for an example, comes under nervous control, but the growth of our body is come under hormonal control. Impulse are released by nerve cells, but hormones are transported by blood. As you know very well, nervous control, when the reflex action is carried out, motor neuron of particular organ only will get activated and send the message to the respective muscle or gland. But hormones, since it is transmitted in the blood, it may affect one organ or it may affect any organ. So the hormones which are affecting any organ, they are called as tropic hormone, which we will discuss later on. Hormone Yes, they do regulate metabolism. Best example, if the blood sugar level is increased, to decrease the blood sugar level, either it will be decomposed into smaller particles, or it will be absorbed in the cell, or it will be converted in some other form. This is called as metabolism. But reflexes or nerve cell or your brain cannot perform such kind of function that sugar level increase हुआ है तो उसका क्या. Can you call any secretion as a hormone? No, because hormones are having specific properties. Number one, they are directly released into the blood. Two, they regulate the physical process by chemical means. You know very well, all hormones are chemical. Correct? Whatever their effect is observed on our body, that is called as physical effect. Growth is a physical process, isn't it? But ये जो growth हुआ है, this happens because of the secretion of certain chemicals. That's why it is mentioned, it regulates the physical process by chemical means. It acts on a target cells or target organs. Fourth property, it will show similar influence all over the world or all over the species. It requires in very small quantity. Chemically, most of the hormones are proteins or peptides or amines or steroids. Now, if you don't understand this point number 6, absolutely okay. Just underline proteins, peptides, amines and steroids. Correct? When we will meet, we'll talk about this in detail. Proteins, example is insulin. Okay? This will only question will be asked that name the hormone which is protein in nature. Your answer will be insulin. The excess secretion or lesser secretion will cause certain kind of serious consequences. Lesser secretion is termed as hyposecretion and excess secretion is termed as hypersecretion. Last but not the least, hormones cannot be stored in our body. They will be released only when it is required. That is on SOS basis. We'll go ahead. Now these are the endocrine glands present in our body: pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal, kidney, pancreas, ovary in case of female, testis in case of male. Now I did not skip the hypothalamus purposely, but remember one thing, hypothalamus controls pituitary gland, or there are certain hormones released directly into the body by hypothalamus, because hypothalamus and pituitary is the part of brain. They are lying next to each other, but we are not having that many number of hormones in our syllabus secreted by hypothalamus. Okay, although there are so many, but we will only talk about pituitary gland, thyroid gland, adrenal gland and pancreas. Okay, let's go. Number one, adrenal gland. The meaning of the word adrenal is ad stand for near, renal stand for kidney. So the gland which is present near the kidney is called as adrenal gland. Remember, this is not the location of adrenal gland. The location of adrenal gland is above the kidney. Only these three words. And if anybody asks you structure of adrenal gland, you will say it is a cap-like structure. It has two parts. Central part is called as adrenal medulla and outer part is called as adrenal cortex. Can you see in this diagram? The inner purple color structure is called as adrenal medulla, while outer pink color structure is called as adrenal cortex. Adrenal medulla secretes a hormone called as adrenaline. I'm sorry for the spelling mistake. Adrenal medulla is called as what? Adrenal medulla secrete a hormone called as adrenaline. Okay. What are its functions? I'll explain you these functions in next slide. Okay. In detail with the diagrams. But just quickly note down the functions of this adrenal gland or adrenal medulla. The function of adrenaline helps us in fight and flight mechanism. It increases the heartbeat, also increases the blood supply to the muscles and releases more glucose in liver. See, isn't it all these pictures will explain the functions of adrenaline? We'll go ahead. Adrenal cortex secretes the hormone called as cortisone, or it is also called as corticoids. There are two types of corticoids, mineralocorticoids and glucocorticoids. The function of mineral corticoid is regulate the mineral metabolism, that is especially Na plus and K plus ion. It means if it is more in quantity, it will be excreted out. If it is lesser in quantity, will be reabsorbed from the urine. Glucocorticoids, it will regulate the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins and fat. Also it helps in salt and water balance, and it will help our body to adapt to the stressful situations. Now most of the time, in some cases, if this cortex overgrows, and this overgrowth of adrenal cortex result into the prematurity in some males. Okay, we'll go ahead. The hyposecretion of corticoids. We will not talk about adrenaline. Remember always, adrenal glands diseases are always concerned about, or it is always associated with corticoids. And the hyposecretion of these corticoids causes a disease called as Addison's disease. These are the symptoms of Addison's disease: loss of energy, skin pigmentation, loss of weight, nausea and hypoglycemia. Out of all these symptoms, what you will remember is this hypoglycemia, the word which is bold and underlined. Okay, so Addison disease is caused due to hyposecretion of hyposecretion of corticoids. Some people, those who have developed Addison's disease, may develop sensitivity to the cold and increased susceptibility to the infection. The meaning of the word susceptibility is they are frequently can develop infection. Next, okay. The hypersecretion of corticoid causes Cushing syndrome. The symptoms are obesity, hyperglycemia, osteoporosis, weakness, salt and water retention. The meaning of the word hyperglycemia, student, is hyper stand for more, glyce is glucose, mia is blood. Okay, osteoporosis, as you can see in the picture nearby, the bones will become weaker. The the plaster had applied on the leg. Central obesity, and because of salt and water retention, the eyes will become fluffy, or you can see that label, moon face. Okay, we'll go ahead. The next gland is pancreas. Its location is present below the stomach in the concavity of intestine or concavity of duodenum, or simply you can remember it is located behind the stomach. It is dual gland. What does this mean? That it has exocrine as well as endocrine in function. The exocrine part of the pancreas secrete pancreatic juice. As you see in this diagram, this green color duct-like structure, and the blue color arrows, they are showing the direction of release of pancreatic juice. Okay, and in the same diagram, if you see the purple color dot-like structures, they represent endocrine part of our body. Sorry, the endocrine part of the pancreas. Now these endocrine part of the pancreas are called as islets of Langerhans, and these islets of Langerhans has three cells: alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells. Alpha cells secrete glucagon, beta cells secrete insulin, delta cells secrete somatostatin. Out of these three hormones, we will study only two. Somatostatin is not in our syllabus. This is the magnified view of islets of Langerhans. You can see the alpha cells are shown in dark blue color, while beta cells are shown in faint blue color. Alpha cells secrete glucagon. The function of this glucagon is to convert glycogen into glucose, while the function of insulin is to decrease blood sugar level by allowing the body cells to absorb the glucose or convert the extra glucose into glycogen. Okay, we'll go ahead. Insulin, the functions, as I just told you, it will check the blood sugar level. It means it will decrease the blood sugar level, promote the glucose utilization in the cells, and it will stimulate the deposition of extra glucose as glycogen. And this glycogen will be stored at two places or two locations. Number one is liver, number two is muscles. if this hormone is secreted in lesser quantity, that is insufficient or hyposecretion of insulin causes diabetes mellitus. Three important symptoms: hyperglycemia, that is excess blood sugar level; more thirst, because this increased blood sugar need to be excreted out, so kidney will absorb more amount of water from the blood, the person will feel more thirsty. And if the person is consuming more amount of water, the same person will use the washroom more frequently. This will result into weight loss, because whatever food is consumed by the diabetic person will not be utilized by your body. Therefore, the excess glucose will be thrown out and the person will have recurrent impulse or recurrent sensation of hunger and feel hungry. Exactly opposite, hypersecretion of this insulin will causes insulin shock, and the symptoms are hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia means when a person get fainted. Most of the time it may happen if you have not consumed proper amount of dinner, or early in the morning if you don't have breakfast. You might have seen your friends, they are falling during assembly time. Correct? It might be an insulin shock. I am using the word might be. Okay. Now if such person take to the infirmary doctor or whatever concerned person will ask first question, did you had a breakfast? Okay. If not, immediately the doctor will give a glucose solution. So that glucose solution will result into increased blood sugar level. As it is blood sugar level increase hua, whatever insulin has increased will be utilized immediately. If it is not treated, or treatment, instead of the word treated, we will use the word first aid. If the person do not receive first aid, that is quick bite of a sugar candy, person may lead to a condition called as coma. Okay. Now this is something interesting, insulin glucagon cycle, what it talks about, how these two hormones will function in our body. So okay, ready? I want you to note down all this point in your notebook. If not, you can pause this presentation in between and can note it down also. We'll starting from the left hand side corner. The blood sugar level, if increase in the blood, the message will go to pancreas. Pancreas will release a hormone called as insulin. Insulin will perform two functions. Number one, it will increase the glucose uptake in the cell. Second, whatever remaining excess glucose will be converted into glycogen and it will be stored in liver. This will result into blood sugar level decrease. Okay. Now suppose a person is on a fasting and there is a condition developed called as blood sugar level is decreased. Now right hand side corner, top corner, blood sugar level decrease. The message will go to pancreas. Pancreas will secrete a hormone, glucagon. Glucagon will act on liver, because liver has already storage of glycogen. So that glycogen will be converted into glucose, and this glucose released into the blood, resulting into increased blood sugar level. Understand? So insulin and glucagon, they are performing exactly opposite function. Insulin, when the blood sugar is increased, it will decrease the blood sugar level. Glucagon, when blood sugar level is decreased, will result into increasing the blood sugar level. Okay. Since these two hormones performing opposite action or opposite function, we call them as antagonistic hormone. Okay. Now out of syllabus but interesting information, this insulin cannot be taken orally, because during the properties of hormone I told you that it is made up of proteins. So any protein when we consume through the oral route, that is through the mouth, it will come in contact with HCl present in the stomach. So this HCl will decompose or break down the insulin, which is of no use then. Therefore insulin is always injected in the body, cannot be taken orally. Okay.